Hello, folks. Happy Halloween. Now, today's movie is, well, one of my personal favorites. I also want to mention that there was another film I wanted to do today, too, but yeah, I don't really have time for that. So I figure I'd probably just save it for November. Mainly due to the fact that it's a holiday themed film with a bunch of holidays in it. So I'm pretty sure you can kind of guess what it was. And my birthday is next week, and you know what that means? Not only is it my birthday, but it's also Godzilla Day. But what's today's film? Well, Halloween is just a few days away, so I figured we talk about the next film in the Halloween chapter. What's that? I did the Rob Zombie Halloween films. Well, I did that so I wouldn't have to ever review those fucking pieces of garbage. Seriously, I mean, and to those who actually think that Halloween 2 was actually that Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie version was better than Halloween Resurrection, you deserve to get kicked in the balls over a dozen times. That film is so fucking horrible. Resurrection is a masterpiece by comparison. Yeah, you might want to think about that. But we're not going to look at that. Today we're going to look at Halloween H20. Oh yeah, it's time to look at the epic rematch between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. 20 years in the making. Oh, yes. Huh, sorry, I guess the light wasn't in the proper place. So, after the not so successful Halloween 6 film, Curse of Michael Myers, which I'm not going to lie, I probably didn't know about the film's existence for a long while until I was in high school. Yeah, I mean, when I was actually growing up, during the '90s at that point in time, I've actually heard about Halloween. I just didn't connect the films at the time to a serial killer called Michael Myers. And here's a bit of a shocker: H2O is actually my very first Halloween film. No joke. I mean, you think, oh, wait a minute, wouldn't like Curse of Michael Myers be your first film? I think I remember seeing a trailer for it, but it just didn't leave a memory for me at all. I mean, I've seen trailers to horror films lately, and some of the darker stuff a little lately too. But later on, I saw Scream, and I saw pieces of the original Halloween. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't so much later. I put two and two together that the other Halloween film that came out was, well, Halloween, the Curse of Michael Myers. I just didn't connect it at the time, and it wasn't until I was in high school I saw all the other films. So, go figure. But anyway, but here's the thing. Thanks to the success of Scream, which not only was an homage to the slasher film genre, but it also brought it back in the '90s. Yeah, other films were actually struggling. You see, the slasher genre was struggling during the '90s, and at that point, after Halloween 6 came out, it's like, yeah, the franchise, yeah, the slasher genre is like dead and buried at this point. That is until Scream came out and actually paid homage to it, and also showed that we have to respect that genre. And it was a massive success at the box office. The following year, we got Scream 2, which was just as successful. And later on, we got Halloween H2O to pay homage to Scream. How do I know that? There's a scene where there's actually a scene in the movie where we have two girls watching Scream 2 as a joke. It's like, because in the finale of Scream they were watching Halloween. So just before the finale of Halloween H2O, they were watching Scream too. Something's not right there. Yeah, there's something not right there. Though, all joking aside, I do actually enjoy watching this movie, and this is actually somewhat of a big fan favorite film, though. Despite what people say about it on like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, the fan base actually does love H2O, and it's more or less like a commemoration. And it's actually the 20th anniversary of Halloween. Hmm. I'm starting to realize something. That every film that's actually made during the anniversary year of Halloween that comes out, those films always do successful. I mean, just think about it. We had the original Halloween, which was a masterpiece, and we had Halloween 4, which actually brought Michael Myers back, and everybody loved it. And it actually left us on a huge cliffhanger, but the sequels fudged it up. H2O did a great job. And the sequel, we'll get to that next year, okay? I'm not going to do another Halloween film after this one. I mean, I'll do it next year, okay? I'll get to Resurrection next year because I have a lot to say about that one. So, next year. As for 28, hell, even after the Rob Zombie botches, we had Halloween 2018, which was a return to format and brought the genre back and showed us why we love it so much. And before you say anything else, I do also like the sequels too. Kills brought the body count up a bit more. Ends pretty much ended the franchise. And to be fair, the storyline in that movie was also good too, mainly because of the fact that Michael's evil is contagious. So we see for a fact that Michael is is pure evil, and we see that his evil is contagious. Oh yeah. If you saw Ends, you know what the hell I'm talking about. But right now, we're not going to talk about Ends. We're going to talk about H2O, Halloween 20 years later. So let's begin. I should also mention that we have two actors in this movie that are actually their very first starring roles. For example, we have Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Josh Hartnett. Oh wow, we have teen throbs in this movie too. They're going to be in body bags by the end of the movie, aren't they? Let's take a look. We start off by going to by watching a nurse come home, only to see her place broken into. She goes to her neighbor's house, and her neighbor happens to be Joseph Gordon-Levitt, wearing a hockey mask. That's a modernized That's a '90s hockey mask with Jason's painting on it. Clearly, this is paying homage to Jason Voorhees a little bit, because this movie is paying a little bit homage to other horror films, not just the Halloween and Scream and so on and so forth. So Joseph Gordon-Levitt actually goes into the house. They call 911. He goes into the house to actually look for the intruder, and he seeks out a couple of beers. But he happens to notice that the office is the only place that's completely trashed, and he accidentally trashes the kitchen. He's like, "Yep, there's nobody in there." But they trashed your office, and they also messed up your kitchen too. But it looks like they mainly attacked your offices. I don't know what. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. All right, so he and his buddy go off and they have their beers. You teenage little shits. Let's face it, folks. You've done the same thing too, if you could. Anyway, the nurse actually goes around the house and we see a figure walking around the house. The house is not clear. And who's the figure? It's none other than Michael Myers after all these years. And before we go any further, I have to mention something else too. Like all the events that happened with the Thorn trilogy, everything that happened with like the Thorn trilogy, six, all that stuff in three, none of it ever happened. Originally, it was planned, and there was a scene actually filmed where it actually explains what happened to Jamie, happened to Jamie Lloyd. But the filmmakers thought that would have been so disrespectful, and her character went through so much hell. They decided, okay, none of that happened. It's not canon to this film. So technically, Halloween H2O is the real Halloween 3 by comparison. So yeah, it's the third film in the franchise. Wow. Now that we got that out of the way, let's continue. The nurse gets freaked out. She heads right over to Joseph Gordon-Levitt's house, and hey, did Joseph Gordon-Levitt survive? No, he gets an ice skate to the face, and his buddy is stabbed in the back and falls on the nurse. And we see the killer come in. It's Michael Myers, and he goes after the nurse, and he promptly kills her. Yep, he just slashes her throat. And here's another fun fact, too. When this is actually happening, the cops actually show up at her house. She's next door trying to get the cops' attention. But the second they go in, she breaks the window. Michael grabs her and cuts her throat relatively quick before they even notice. So, right? He basically steals the key to the kid's car and drives away. and of course the cops later realize, oh shit, there was a murder next door too. Oh, oopsie. So the lead detective notices that the nurse was actually the nurse of Dr. Samuel Loomis, and this used to be his house and during his ending days. And there was a lot of stuff about Michael Myers and all the stuff he actually had. And apparently, this thing that Michael actually trashed the office was he was looking for a file on Laurie Strode, which is missing. So clearly, Loomis actually knows what happened to her. But now, now the credits actually do roll up, but it says that Laurie Strode actually died years ago in a car accident. So they're sort of doing the same thing what happened with Halloween 4, but the difference is she actually survived and actually changed her identity. So, and she actually did have a kid, but they're ignoring the entire Jamie Lloyd, the whole thing with Jamie Lloyd. So, because that whole thing never existed, we get the detective actually tells his partners, like, look, man, I'm actually older than Michael Myers. He'd probably be in his 30s. He was in his 20s when he did the killings. He'd be in his 30s right now. He'd probably be in his 30s right about now, or in his early 40s. So he's probably still in good health. He's probably still out there. Cole Haddonfield. And we get a nice homage with like going over all the news clippings and everything, and talking about Michael Myers and everything, and we hear the dark tones of Dr. Loomis from the first film, and pieces of the second movie a little bit too, as a nice homage to Donald Pleasance's character. Considering the fact that this would have been a better send off for Halloween than the last film he was in. And that, my friends, is the beginning of H2O. We cut all the way down to California, where we actually, someplace in California, where it's a nice boarding school, where, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, has changed her name to Karen Tate, and she lives with her son, played by Josh Hartnett, John Tate, where she's also not only a teacher at the school, but also the head mistress at the school, where they live in isolation, and, of course, in protection too, because it's actually a really good area. She, of course, has the nightmare, and and John has mostly been very much secluded because of her and her paranoia about Michael Myers. Because after the events of Halloween 2, well, yeah, she's still very much paranoid about Michael Myers. It's been about 20 years, and she knows her. And this is actually due to the fact that she's actually Michael's sister in this version. Yeah. So we're still going with the fact that she's Michael's sister in this version. And of course, John basically dismisses the fact that it's been over 20 years and Michael Myers is clearly fucking dead. What's taking him so goddamn long? So, yeah. So a bunch of stuff actually winds up happening. John is actually hanging out with his friends. They actually want to do something, like go to Yosemite, or actually have a Halloween party. Either way, it's teenage angst at its finest. And we see and he makes plans with his girlfriend Molly. And Molly's girlfriend is the same bitch from She's All That. No, seriously, you remember the hotshot chick that was in She's All That? That was like the main attention, the one that broke up with Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character. Yeah, same girl. Yeah, she's in this movie too. This was actually her first film, and if you hated her in that movie, don't worry, she dies brutally in this one. Okay, I should really stop doing that, but hey, this is a slasher film. Come on, guys, give me a break. And of course, we're also introduced to Karen Tate's boyfriend. Oh, Lori, you got yourself a boyfriend. That's nice. Also, John happens to be 17 years old, even though we got a birthday card a couple of months later after his actual birthday. What the fudge? And there's also a gate guard played by LL Cool J. Okay, you know what? I would make more jokes about this one, but then again, the second film actually has Buster Rhymes in it, though, and he has more of a character role. But in this one, LL Cool J's character is more neutral. It's actually more neutral, and it's more of a believable character, if anything else. And yes, he interacts with all the other characters, too, because he's the gate guard, and he's also one of the guards that's actually. Hmm, he's actually one of the captains of the guards, so yeah, go figure on that one. Meanwhile, we see up in Northern California, miles away, we see a young mother and her young daughter go to a highway bathroom, and we see the very car that Michael stole at the beginning of the movie. There, uh, yeah. Why are you going to this bathroom? Oh, your daughter has to go real bad. Young lady, here's an idea. You see those bushes over there? Yeah, drop your pants, go in the bushes over there. Yeah, you'll be safer over there than in the bathroom. Trust me. They go into the bathroom. Shit. So yeah, the little girl and the mother are actually in separate stalls doing their business, and Michael actually just grabs the woman's purse and just take and leaves. Now we hear the girl scream, thinking that Michael probably did something. Nope. The girl actually freaked out because of a spider. What the hell? So Michael doesn't attack them? Nope, he doesn't. He actually he takes the keys and he throws the purse away after making a mess out of it though, and steals their car. Wow, you're an asshole, Michael. Eventually, John and his buddy go out into town, and they actually decide to steal some liquor for a little private party later. Meanwhile, Lori is actually in town on a lunch date with her boyfriend and has a couple of glasses of Chardonnay, where we see some kids dress up as Ghostface. This movie is paying homage to Scream, so okay, it makes a lot of sense. But it doesn't make any sense in continuity wise because in Scream's world, Halloween exists, and in this world, apparently Scream exists. So what? So does Halloween exist, or did they actually turn Halloween to like an urban legend type thing? And they you don't forget it. I don't want to get into it. This is gonna be like a two. Giant, my brain might just explode from it too much. So anyway, she catches John and his buddy outside, and she scolds them both. And of course, they decide to go. And of course, they decide to drive back home, drive back to campus. And ironically enough, Michael happens to be across the street in the stolen car, watching them, and nobody happens to notice. I should mention it's like an old Model T type. It's like one of those old cars from the 1930s that's actually was actually somewhat kind of popular back in the 90s. If you restore those things out pretty well back in the 80s, they're also like great cars to drive around from like the 80s and 90s. But here's my question: it's all black and it's following them, and nobody noticed. What the fuck? Seriously. So they get back, and LL Cool J gets scolded by Lori. So it's like, yeah, and he and John, they're just looking at each other like, mm. Yeah, it's like, you fucking idiots. So rather than actually trying to sneak in, Michael actually waits until it's nightfall instead. So eventually, Lori gives a nice little speech, and she gives John the permission to actually go to Camp Yosemite. Nice. But John decides not to go and decides to have a little Halloween party with his friends. Typical slasher movie behavior. Typical slasher movie behavior. How lovely. Yeah, well, we see a bunch of the kids actually, a bunch of the students actually leave to go to Camp Yosemite. Yosemite. Michael actually pulls up to the gate and actually, well, LL Cool J, he's on the phone with his girlfriend at the time, being a little, trying to write a little storyline for her. So, okay, little part, okay, a little sexual storyline for her. Okay, good enough for you, buddy boy. He notices it. He notices the car. He goes right out there, and we get a pretty creepy shot of like him just looking into the car while the door's open. Turns the car off, and Michael just walks right past him, just giving him that look like it's like you think he's about to stab him. All right, it's kind of a tense moment. It's like, and nothing happens. He goes right back to his booth and actually tells his girlfriend he's got to call her back. And we see Michael is just looking at him right through the window. It's like, okay, that's even more creepy. So, but then the power goes out, and yeah, basically Michael cut the power line and cut the phone lines. You dick, seriously. So Karen, so yeah, before any of this actually happens, Karen actually decides to goes back to her office to get ready to turn in for Halloween, and we see Janet Lee. Jamie Lee Curtis's mother actually is in this movie. Janet Leigh bumps into her daughter in this movie, and she's dressed in the same outfit she was wearing in the beginning of Psycho. Not only that, when we see her leave, she's driving the same car from Psycho. Okay, you know what? We gotta mention this real quick, okay? There's been a rumor going around that saying Psycho is actually in the same was actually a prequel to Halloween. Because the boyfriend is called Sam Loomis, so okay, you know what? It's official. Psycho's now in the Halloween canon. Yeah, it's official now. It's fucking official. Oh, it's just a fucking cameo appearance, and Janet Leigh actually giving her daughter's blessing for being back in this film series. Because this is the first time that Jamie Lee Curtis came back to the film series after 20 years. Lovely. Lovely indeed. So later on that night, uh, so later on that night, Lori actually tells her she's actually with her boyfriend. They have a couple of drinks, and as they're making out a bit, she tells him that she's not really Karen Tate, that her real name is Laurie Strode. And he puts two and two together, and he realizes that she's actually telling the truth. Hmm. But Lori thus realizes a couple of things. Like when Michael first came to her, she was 17 years old, and she looks at John's birthday card. She realizes that wait, John just turned 17 this year, so that means he's probably coming back right now. Seriously, what the fuck is okay? Is there like a thing going on here or something? I mean, seriously, what the hell? John and his three friends, they all get ready for a nice little party. Yeah, by getting some food together and just having a good old fashioned love couple party. While his buddy and his buddy's girlfriend, played by the bitch from from She's All That, get separated. He goes looking for a corkscrew, and he finds it, but he bumps into Michael Myers with a terrible CGI mask. I mean, amongst all the masks, this is the only one that's CG'd, and it looks like shit. All right, it's by far the one thing that doesn't make any sense. And since the Blu-ray release, people have asked, why didn't they just digitally replace it with the current mask they had? So yeah, Michael just slits his fucking throat, puts him in the dumbwaiter, and he comes right. The bike comes down. The girlfriend looks at it. She gets freaked out, and she sees that Michael's right behind her, and yeah, he stabs her in the leg, and she goes up the dumbwaiter, but Michael cuts the rope down, and the dumbwaiter crashes on her leg, probably almost cutting it off. Pretty gruesome, but hey, all right. Anyway, the dumbwaiter falls. Michael sees that she wasn't in there. He goes up and stabs her plenty of times, drags the body away. So what does John and Molly do? They go looking for them. They're like, where the hell is everybody? So, uh, hey, where are you guys at? They follow blood. It's like, what the hell's going on? You go into a dark room. They turn on the light. Michael actually impaled the girl with the light. So we see the light actually coming out of her rib cage. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That's actually okay. I'm not gonna lie. If this was a haunted house, if this was like one of those haunt places, that'd actually be good for decoration. I'm not gonna lie. So, Lucy, if you're watching this, give this film a watch, and you probably should do that one of these days. Like have that, have like a body like hanging with a light coming out of it though, as if somebody actually stabbed the body with a light fixture. I want to think about that, Luce. Yeah, trust me on this. All right, it's scary, very effective. Anyway, they close the door and they see Michael Myers is on the other side of the room, and he does his famous head tilt. Like, what's weird about this is that Molly actually saw Michael earlier in class. Doing the famous scene doing that famous homage scene from Halloween. But in this, so it's a little bit weird. But for John, he knows who that is. And he's like, so they run the fuck away. By some effing miracle, like Michael actually does catch up to them, and they try to fight him off. But John actually wound up getting stabbed in the leg. But of course, a rock to the face puts him down for about 10 seconds. So yeah, seriously, it's like, oh, what's this? Oh, big ass lead pipe, whack, right in the face, down. 10 seconds later, mean, come on, it's like the same thing with Jason Voorhees. Like, shoot him in the head. Bang. 10 seconds later. Fuck. It's Freddy Krueger. Shoot him in the face. Bang. Okay. Just okay, that was a little exaggerated. Freddy's actually more or less a fucking pussy by comparison compared to these two. Okay, all this. Okay, look, all respect. Freddy doesn't actually do shit like that. Neither does Pinhead or Leatherface. Like Kane and the Undertaker from WWE tend to do that a lot. So, still none of their matches are so fucking stressful to watch. Well, thank God I'm an Undertaker fan. Okay, joking aside, let's just get back to this. Eventually, they do get away from Michael, and they catch up with Laurie and her boyfriend. And yeah, Laurie is freaking out that Michael is back. Michael is back. So they actually, so they run around for a bit though. The kids actually, Laurie has Molly and John hide in a closet while Laurie and her boyfriend go around looking for Michael Myers. And they have Laurie's gun. So and eventually, and yeah, they after one jump scare or another, they run into, they see a figure and they shoot, and the boyfriend shoots it. Only to when they get close to it, they realize it wasn't Michael, it was LL Cool J's character, which really kind of sucks for him. So yeah, he accidentally killed LL Cool J. Nice work, you idiots! God. They're both freaking out, and Michael walks up right behind the boyfriend and does the famous stab him in the chest and pick him up while stabbing him. Now, I'm not gonna lie, seeing him do it to a nurse was pretty freaky because he did it with a scalpel. But in this movie, he's using a butcher knife, and he's doing it to a full-grown man instead, who's much more heavier. Okay, joking aside, if Jason Voorhees ever did something like that, he probably used his machete, but he probably had the blade up backwards instead, and just had the body cut itself in half, slowly cut in half. Oh my god, that actually be freaking awesome. Hey, we still owed one more Friday the 13th film, so maybe they'll probably do that one of these days if they ever get their shit together. So yeah, eventually Lori tries to fight off Michael, but he's too strong, so she tricks him and knocks him out real quickly. And as he's knocked out, and he does the whole thing. So she's able to get Molly and John out of there, and they actually go into the car. They get into her car, and they drive down to the gate. And he tells Molly and John to head down to the nearest neighbor's house and actually call the police while she's going to deal with Michael. So Molly drives John down there. They call the police, and Lori closes the gate and actually destroys the controls. That way, Michael doesn't leave. We get the famous scene of her yelling out Michael. She grabs an axe and gets ready to fight Michael one last time. So yeah, this whole entire movie is basically Laurie versus Michael or Laurie's revenge. That was actually one of the subtexts of the movie. So so eventually Laurie beats up with Michael and they have a bit of a fight. Only Michael is just too fucking strong. I mean, he's a fucking slasher villain for God's sake. So he's too fucking strong at this point. So he throws her around a little bit though. He takes an axe to the chest, pulls it out, throws it to the ground, and goes right after her. She throws knives at him. It doesn't work. Yeah, he blocks every one of them though. But he tries to stab her. She uses like a cutting board, and the knife goes through the cutting board. What's she do? She needs him in the. She hits him. She kicks him in the balls. He throws her away. He throws her across the room while he's trying to get the knife out. She grabs some knives, and in the middle of confusion, she grabs some knives. They go through this entire spiel of Michael chasing her all over the place, trashing the whole goddamn place as well. In the main hall, he's like walking on top of the tables, trying to get at her, and he's flipping the tables over and of course they're on top of the second floor, where Lloyd continuously stabs him like a madman until he falls overboard and hits the table. Earlier, she actually speared him with a freaking flagpole, only to have the flagpole snap in half, and he pulls it out and goes right after her like it's nothing. So what she do? She stabs him repeatedly until he falls over, like a clumsy ox from the second floor balcony and hits the table. So yeah, we see. So she's about to stab him. She goes down the ground level, about to stab him one more time until LL Cool J just grabs her. It's like, no, come on, Mrs. Tate. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. It's like, hey, LL Cool J. Like, wait, you're alive? The fuck? We thought you were dead. No, the bullet grazed my head and I got knocked out. Okay, to be fair, that's plausible. So now we're actually at the end of the movie where we think the whole thing's over, but it's not fully over yet. Well, John and Molly are getting taken care of. LL Cool J's character is actually talking to this girl. They saying, "I'm gonna write me a romantic thriller, baby." Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. And so Lori sees that Michael is put away on the is put away on an ambulance, but she actually grabs a gun and actually tells everyone to back away, and she hijacks the ambulance that Michael is in. So they drive away. Well, it's not really an ambulance; it's actually like the coroner's van. So yeah, she drives away and she's waiting for him to wake up. And of course, he does eventually wake up and tries to stop her from driving. Tries to stop her from driving, only to actually have her stop the car, and he goes right out the window. And he does eventually get up, and well, she tackles him with the van, and they go over into a ridge. And of course, and Michael is pinned between a tree and the van, with just the top half of his body just like exposed. And he's basically screwed at this point. But there is one thing that kind of bothered me about this movie. In Resurrection, they actually explain how he survives this, but if you watch very closely, it's something is definitely wrong with Michael here. Like he's actually grabbing his head like so she even says Michael's name several times. Like he doesn't acknowledge it until like he looks up and he's trying to ask for help. So there's something clearly wrong with the scene here. Anyway, Lori still feels a little sympathy, but then she's holding the axe from earlier and she cuts his head off. Yep, she kills Michael Myers by cutting off his head. That's the end of the boogeyman, right? Wrong! Oh, God. Guess what? It's not until when Resurrection comes up we find out that wasn't Michael. Oh, God, this is ridiculous. Anyway, the movie basically ends with Michael actually getting decapitated by Laurie Strode. Except there's one slight problem. No, like eventually in Resurrection, we find out that that wasn't Michael that was decapitated. It was one of the paramedics. Yeah, Michael actually woke up in the middle. Actually woke up when one of the paramedics was alone with him. Squeezes his throat, collapsing his vocal cord so he can't speak, and actually swaps outfits with him. So apparently, one of the paramedics that was actually loading Michael into the thing was actually Michael, just unmasked. So yeah, he basically he screwed over Lori by tricking her that he survived. What the fuck? Unbelievable. But anyway, that's Halloween Resurrection for you though. And honestly, joking aside, watching H2O again after all these years, it still holds up. Yeah, it's actually a pretty decent slasher movie, and it is a really good Halloween film, particularly. You know what? I do enjoy watching this movie, and of course, it's actually one of the staples of Halloween I watch every other year. Every year. So yeah, what comes on the Halloween films I watch during this time of the season for the horror franchises of Halloween. The movies I watch in particular order are Halloween. Halloween 2 is optional, but I also watch Halloween H2O, Halloween 4, Halloween 2018, and that's about it though. Plus several other Halloween horror films that take place during the Halloween season. So yeah, there you go. So, do I recommend this movie? Well, knowing this little twist ending that they didn't have until the beginning of Halloween Resurrection, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I give you guys a watch. Also, this is also the shortest film too. Yeah, amongst all the Halloween films, most of the films almost clock in at over 90 minutes. This one is actually just under 90 minutes. Yeah, I'm not even joking. Amongst all the films, this one is just 86 minutes long. It's actually just under 90 minutes. I mean, come on. After all the films I've seen here, yeah, each one is just each one is around 90 or just close to 90 minutes. With the shortest ones being just well close to 88 minutes, but 2 minutes there or with some other screen time or something, boom, it's an equal 90 minutes. It's equally 90 minutes. But this one is clearly the shortest film in the franchise, which is just insane. But is it still good? The answer, yeah, it is. So, hope you all enjoy today's episode, and hope you all have a happy Halloween this Thursday. Tune in on Sunday, and it's Godzilla. It's my birthday, aka Godzilla Day. So, what Godzilla film am I going to review? Ugh, I gotta look it up. I gotta look for. I'm actually missing one of my DVDs. I do actually have a digital copy of the film, particularly, but I want to see if I can actually find a physical copy. So I gotta go back to my family's house and try to look for it. So until then, you all take care and have a happy, happy Halloween.